3 miles from me?
Okay, it's streaming.
She used to live.
We're good?
Yep.
We're good? All right.
Did you start it?
Yeah, because otherwise you have to push the button that says stop streaming.
All right. All right. We have a little technical difficulties here, but we're ready to go now. Call to order the May 27th, regular school board meeting. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have all 6 school board members, Superintendent Boche, and a wonderful audience. We'll look for approval to, or approve the amended meeting agenda. We did have one name change in the employment request, so, look for motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Dakota, second by Jill. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. The Mustang Spirit Recognition.
Yes, I do. I'd like Carson Falk to come up.
Excited about it.
Carson, yep. Carson is a paraprofessional at Moore Elementary School. This is his 2nd year as a paraprofessional. He works mainly with K through 3?
K through 2nd, sir.
K through 2nd, okay. And you do a lot of playground supervision, lunchroom supervision?
A lot of that, and then also going into some of the rooms, depending on which kiddo it is, depending on the day.
Sure. Yeah, and the reason I chose Carson is every time I'm at the elementary, he comes up and greets me. We have a good conversation. He's excited to be at work every single day, and I heard through the grapevine that he's had perfect attendance, not only for 1 year, but for 2 years. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I told him, well, he's got 4 more days. Carson is not gonna let me down. And he does have the best outfits in the school district. I'm jealous, he has all the sporting teams and things like that, but I get to observe Carson. He has a real enthusiasm for coming to work every day and working with students. Carson, I asked you, like, how do you like your job and why did you choose Morris Schools? Do you wanna tell the board a little bit about that?
The reason I chose Morris School specifically because 1, born and raised, this will always be my home. 2, I used to have paras myself, and I figured why not use the experience I had just to kind of give back and help out those that sometimes may not be as fortunate as I am. And I've always thought of myself as almost kind of like the ones like I like to think of myself as looking out for the little guy. Like make sure nobody gets hurt. I'm always there to talk to if they really need to, and I just want to be there for them. And metaphorically, when I say this, my heart bleeds blue and white. Once a Mustang, always a Mustang.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Congratulations. There's that. You get a bell.
Alright.
Okay, use it. Thanks, Carson.
I will.
Any other Mustang Spirits? It's gonna be tough to top that one. All right, we will move on to the CAP presentation for Reed Gunderson and Kelly Gams.
Evening, guys.
If you wanna put it in slideshow, that might be a little easier to see, it's up to you.
Oh, present mode?
Yeah, with slideshow.
Want it in slideshow mode?
I'm right here.
Would you prefer it?
Yeah,
Perfect.
thanks.
So
You're
we
very
are,
welcome.
we are more CAP co-chairs.
This
My
is
name-
more cap,
My
right
name is Reed
here.
Gunderson and this is Kelly Gams. Yeah, and we're just gonna give our year-end report as quick as and painless as possible.
Okay, MORCAP is dedicated to bringing arts experiences and art opportunities to the students, families, and residents of Moore Schools in the greater Moore community. Next slide, and this year we did it in many, many ways. Some are repeats from other years, just because they're tried and true. Okay. We sponsor activity fees for anybody that might need them, for art club members, art after school classes, junior high production, and Moore High School productions. And Debbie stayed at the matinee. Debbie McGovern was a beloved CAP member, and school board member and very, very involved in the, district. And so Chuck has faithfully donated money to, Debbie's Day at the Matinee, which is, the matinee that the junior high puts on, and then CAP sponsors for, as many elementary classrooms to go to it as deemed if it's the day and if it's the play. And then she also, sponsors our scholarship at the end of the year, and we'll talk about that in a second. So this year it was the Susical, that happens to be my classroom, and they loved it, it's always a really good time. And then, for many, many years, when Judy Brockmeyer was the art teacher, we did an art activity in third grade called, Talking Rocks. And she wrote that lesson with a couple other people, art people, and won awards for it. And then it kind of went away from more art, and she presented it at the Yaya, Young Authors, Young Artists Conference, and, wanted to bring it back, because we thought it was just so important if it ties in with so many different, standards for, if you go to the next slide, reading and social studies and science and art, and talked about petroglyphs and pictographs, especially the Native American standards, it was perfect for that. And so I brought it in for a 4-day time. I made a slideshow, a teaching slideshow like I always do, we ran through that. The kids got to actually take a ball of clay, split it into 2 pieces, put the talking parts in there, research and talk about what they wanted the rock to say on the outside about them, so the rock shakes and speaks, but then it also has all of their symbols, their talking rocks of their stories of third grade. So they were super cool, and we're hoping to bring her, keep continuing to bring her back. And so there's just different processes of it, again, my classroom, there's Judy. And then we talked about the Jeffers petroglyphs in Minnesota, and it was very, very good.
Yeah, and so, another one we were able to put together with, the local history center, was a collaboration in space where we can, do a piece that's, annual and rotating, and it's called, Wings of Kanabec County. And so, next slide. On the outside of the history center, they offered some space to display student artwork, and we were able to do, some oil pastel birds, mostly local Minnesota birds. We have one outlier, and I couldn't convince her otherwise, but she wanted to do a flamingo, you might see it there.
Gotta
So-
have a flamingo.
Oh, maybe it's not there, you'll have to go check it out at the history center, but, it was an awesome lesson we did with a couple classes during our high school, drawing unit, and, the kids loved it, and they do so well with it, and it relates to their surroundings here in Mora, and, we're working on getting a, falconeer to bring his, falcon next year, so we get some birds up close, so the kids can see and understand what's flying around us, especially in the springtime.
And it's designed to rotate.
Yeah,
Right.
so it would be annual, so we'll rotate artwork out. We were able to get, the local hardware store to cut some fiberglass, and CAP sponsored the materials and installation for that, and, every year it will get changed out, so something that the kids can see their work outside of the classroom walls.
So every year we try to get as many people to join CAP as we possibly can, and as you can see, our group is rather small. So we thought, what can we do that's different? So we reached out to all staff and friends, inviting them to share their talents, teach a class, could be pretty much anything they wanted it to be. And we would tie it in to art. We did an art of competition on one of them. So these were some of the guest teachers that we had. Winter Sensory Bottle was so popular that they had to run it twice. And so that was really good. We could fill up classes every single day. That's how big and how much the kids really, really love it. The art of competition, they played sequence for a series. I think it was a 3-day series, and loved it. They brought stuffed animals, and we always provide the snacks, and they have a great time. Next one, a beaded lizard. I think they did that one twice. It's really hard to try to remember to take pictures. So these 4 right here didn't have them. So we had beaded earrings, pancord bracelets. My daughter came in from Boston, and she is getting a master's in Boston in theater. So she did a move and groove, and they were like, we're doing this again tomorrow too. She's like, well, I'm flying back to Boston tomorrow, so actually I'm not. but it was super cool. We did self-built, ornaments. We just opened it up again to anybody. Anybody that wants to teach something, whether it's elementary, whether it's, middle school, whether it's high school, does not matter what it is. We just want to get kids involved as much as we possibly can. And
Yeah.
when you sign up, we'll actually give you some ideas too. If you think, well, I don't have any skills, but I like
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, we're excited for more teachers to get involved because, you know, one or two people can't teach them all. So it's great when teachers step up and they have a passion they wanna share. Another thing we got to do, the drones are still up and active. And the kids got to explore photography with drones and get their hands on some STEAM lessons as well. Next slide. And then the one exciting part that we get to be a part of is giving out the scholarship from the Debbie McGovern Memorial. So this year we had a few candidates, but one that really stood out that was going into the arts, and she's obviously a senior and she's attending Pine Tech, but then she's going on to School for Performing Arts. You've probably seen Sophie Ryan. She's been in a lot of the plays, she's very active in the theater department, and she has a passion for the arts, so it fit really well, and we were happy to support Sophie in her future, so.
In specifically choreography. And Reed mentioned that she's going into the arts. They don't necessarily have to be majoring in the arts, but just have that active in their life. But it's really nice when we're able to pick somebody that is choosing the arts. And so that was great.
And then something we have exciting that we've been working with the city is a mural at the Moore Aquatic Center. And we were actually just out last week, now that the sun decided to show again, and priming up the wall, prepping the space, and that's actively happening. So we're excited to have that complete here in the next month or so. The theme is underwater ocean life because of the theme with the pool. So we thought that'd be a fun way for kids to get out and do some art outside the school walls.
And take some fun pictures too.
Yeah, and then also CAP supports Art Club, and we've been able to go on 2 trips a year, fall and spring. This year we went to the Hallberg in Wyoming, and the Hallberg Center for the Arts had a show that the kids got to speak with the artists themselves and walk through each piece and hear the stories. We also went up to Duluth to the UMD, the Tweed, in which it was the 75th anniversary. We were excited to let the kids explore college work and other professional pieces there that have been permanent. Art Club has grown. We started when I came on 5 years ago, there was 15 kids, now we have 55. So we're trying to bring in more artists. Terry Hero is a local artist that works downtown Mora, and she was able to bring in some of her artwork and display some of the stuff that she does and how she's made a career out of art. So we're happy to have local artists join us as well.
I wanted to just add a real quick thing with that. We have so many opportunities in Mora for kids to do so many different things. Art is really special to have because a lot of kids don't fit into academics, they don't fit into sports, but they do find a home in the arts. And I think that's why it's really growing, is because they're welcome there, they stand out, they're different, they're odd, but they feel at home in the arts, and the kids wanna be there. I was there one day having a meeting with Reed, and we were out in the hall, and the classroom after school was completely full. Quiet, kids working, doing their own little projects, not one problem whatsoever, on task, and they loved being there. So
Yeah.
we really, really fit a niche for these kids to have someplace to be.
Yeah, it gives them a great outlet to express themselves and to find a safe space to hang out, even if they're not in a sport. So, yeah, and then you can go to the next slide. Coming up next year, we have an exciting opportunity that ECRAC is providing a large chunk of money, and CAP is partnering with them to have a in-service for a videographer and his wife, Caleb Gregg, and they're gonna come in and help us basically build a videography program. We have photography, videography will be new, and we're excited to use these skills that the kids already have with their handheld devices to start to build them into how can we use this professionally and how does a career look like when you're a professional videographer. So excited to have that kick off next fall. And then let's see, next
Just
slide.
one thing with that, we really wanted to tie that into all the wonderful, TVs that are all over campus now. And maybe even have like them go to different clubs or go to different sports and teams and stuff and kind of let them do commercials for
Yeah.
their activities. And
A great way to promote clubs, sports, different activities. I mean, heck, maybe we could come in if you guys allowed us and get a quick swipe through of the board.
Here's the board, you know.
So,
Just-
we're excited because we wanna show people what we're doing because we feel like there's a lot of great things happening in this district. We requested some money from MEF. We're in the process and talks of possibly getting a camera then that we can use, a professional quality camera. And then,
But
let's
we
see.
want the faces of Mora out there as well.
Yeah, and then collaborating with a couple places downtown. There's a new business starting, Natalie Patira, and she has expressed interest in opening her doors to students to be able to come in and work in her studio that's about to be open as well. So we're really excited to be here.
We also have our art students at the high school make connections with elementary. I know they've got kindergarten and third grade and student showcase, third grade, they're coming in on Monday. We're doing a huge day of Camp Read a Lot in the gym, and they're gonna be there, and they're gonna be face painting, and so just trying to connect kids from all levels as well. Who can be on CAP? Anybody, please,
Yeah.
anybody. We do have set time for meetings, but since it's just the two of us, we usually spend an hour or two, talking on the phone and having our meetings that way, but we welcome anybody at any time. Just have to have a passion, that's it. And help us make decisions and spend money.
Yeah,
So that's what our official monthly meetings are, but
yeah.
we're rather flexible.
Best way is shoot me an email, let me know what you're passionate about, and we can get you plugged in, even if it's just helping out with one class a year, it all helps and goes a long ways, and it's so fun to see these kids just light up and enjoy the arts, it makes them feel so welcome, so, thank you, we were going to ask again, maybe if the board would consider supporting us. I know the last few years you guys have, been very generous in that way, and so, we appreciate the opportunity to share our year with you guys, so.
One thing we forgot to put on there is we do a little bit of fundraising, we forgot to put it on there actually, concessions. So we try to raise money and then we find money other places, so all
Yeah.
goes to good cause.
Thankfully, we've had a lot of good help with concessions.
Yes, art club has been really helpful.
Yeah.
But thank you very much, it's been,
Yeah, thank
Cap
you
is
too,
wonderful.
and all the opportunities. We do have it on the board agenda down below
Great.
for the board to make a decision, so.
That's great.
Reed's in the middle of his master's.
Yeah, I gotta
class.
get back to class, but I appreciate you guys and.
I wanna go to baccalaureate, and so if you'd let us know if that gets approved, that would
Yeah,
be great.
thank you so
I
much for
will.
your time.
Thank you
I know
so
we're
much.
probably over
Thank you,
time
guys.
here.
Oh, thank you. Alright, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is the travel club presentation.
Alright, I brought backup. I'll stand in the back. Elizabeth was, I'm Marcia Maliner, advisor of the Moore High School Travel Club. I know most of you, most of you know me. Elizabeth Larson is a 11th grader this year, and she came on our trip to Iceland this year. And Mara Shadeen was a first-time chaperone, so my backup. I don't know why, I talk in front of people all the time, but it gets nerve-wracking, so that's why they're here, for my moral support. So we spent April 3rd through the 10th in Iceland. We hit the weather just perfectly. It was a blizzard before we got there, and it snowed while we were there almost every day. At the end of the trip, we did have some nice weather, but we went to Iceland and we saw ice. So 37 students total, over 9 days, and with 5 chaperones. And we did get to the north of it as well. So some pictures of us just getting on our way at the airport, getting to the airport. It was a straight shot from Reykjavik, or from Minneapolis to Reykjavik. Anytime either one of you wanna jump in, you let me know. Okay. All right, so we hit the ground running always on these trips. Because whales are a huge part of Iceland culture, huge part of Iceland history, and current economics, we went to a whale museum, which at first, I don't know what anybody thought of it, But you walked in and there were these life-size models of whales, and there are 23 whale models of the various whale species found in Icelandic waters. And the interesting thing was that each whale was modeled after an actual individual in the wild and features their personal markings and characteristics. So you walk in and there's a blue whale hovering above you, or none of us, I think, knew how big a narwhal was before we got there, so it was a great introduction. The next day, so we've landed in Reykjavik. The next day we drive to the north of Iceland in the Akureyri region, and it was an over a 5-hour drive. So on the way we made a number of stops. One of them was this Grabach crater, which is the largest of 3 craters formed by volcanic fissures that are around 3,400 years old. We got to hike to the top and walk around in gale force winds.
Attempt to not get blown away.
Attempt to not get blown away.
So far the windiest point on earth that I've ever been in my entire life. But it was beautiful.
So behind Elizabeth and Camden on the left is a lake covered in ice. So we were all familiar with that because we had left Minnesota with ice-covered lakes. But we were able to have a really great discussion and lecture in the visitor center. Midtvan Lake is a biodiversity hotspot. I'm actually pronouncing it wrong. Mývatn are actually midges. So think tiny little flies. They don't bite humans, but the bottom of this lake is rife with their pupa, help me, eggs and all of the other life stages that they're in. Every spring when they hatch, it is like a haven for huge diversity of birds and other creatures that come to this area. So we had a discussion on that. 15 duck species, etc. You get it. It was very windy there too.
Just as
Very, very windy. It was windy everywhere. With that said, I want to preface, it was still the most amazing trip. Like such an amazing experience, irregardless of the weather, as you can see on the faces of those students in the upper right. This was one of the first waterfalls that we visited, and all of our guides said that it's even more beautiful in the wintertime. We believed them. I did include a couple videos because some of them are very sweet. Don't play it yet, please. So this, I'm not gonna even try to pronounce it, but this is a area that is a lava field that, if you can see in that top picture, where the Icelandic people believe that these Yule lads live. And the volcanic features are actually these huge troll. They're not gnomes, they're troll, I can't even remember.
elves, yes.
I don't know.
Yep, something
Something like that. So instead of one Santa Claus, Icelandic people have 13. They're the Yule lads, and they have very interesting names like Bootlicker,
Spoonlicker.
Door Kicker, forget the rest of them.
They're very strange.
Yeah.
very
But they were
strange.
sleeping now, but they taught Hayden how to call them. So the bottom left is Hayden calling out the Yule lads in Icelandic. They didn't come.
No.
In the upper right, a group of students were able to climb up. You can see the picture in the middle. Were able to climb up into, I think this was Door Kicker's cave, but it was easier to slide down than walk down. So we had a little old-fashioned Minnesota fun. Can we still hear her?
It is that
How's
good.
It is that good,
How's
Mr. Oche. This is the farthest north we were at, so 32 miles below the Arctic Circle, in the town that is spelled that way. It is the herring capital of Iceland. What did we learn there?
We learned a lot. We went to a museum where we met with a lady who's very familiar about the history of the town, and she told us all about the Herring Girls, who were essentially the start of the economy in the town that none of us could say.
Also, they were the backbone of the herring industry in the 17 and 1800s, and they were They fought for gender equality. They were being paid less than the men, and they were doing more work with them, so they decided they were gonna stop working until they got equal rights and equal pay. So, it was, a very strong, a moment of, or piece of pride in a country that is well known for gender equality. Then we went to Haugenes, and we had this was a place that had fifth generation fishermen, fifth or sixth. Now they don't go out and fish any longer, they buy fish from others and they, prepare it and have a restaurant there, etc. But we still had an expo from him. And they had, fermented shark, which is how it sounds. So, we were able to get certificates if we ate them. We were prepared with a local juice and a very small cube of fermented shark, and the reactions. Notice the purple hat starts gagging a bit right there. So we all loved it. Actually, Colby, cook in the front, her reaction was pretty much, it's not bad. You don't have to say the whole thing if you don't care to. I don't think any of us will try it again.
No, but for whatever reason, that piece of paper that is now proudly hanging on my refrigerator was a big motivator. I was like, I need that.
Proud certificate of,
I wasn't gonna do it,
Yeah.
and then he brings it around first so you can smell it and totally ruin your day. And then he passes it out for you to eat, and I'm like, there's no way. And then I did it for the certificate, and
proud fermented shark eater. So here is our fifth generation fisherman giving us an expo, and then he introduces us to an old Icelandic children's game. And I'll tell you when to pause.
Okay.
Go ahead. We weren't very successful. You're supposed to throw the boot between your legs and over your head. And unsuccessful. Also unsuccessful. One more. And you'll see Dakota Harris nails it. That is what you're supposed to do. I encourage, we were gonna bring a fisherman's boot, but I didn't know if that would fit into your agenda this evening or not.
We like props.
You like props?
Yes.
Next time. I will know things. I would say highlight of our trip.
whale watching, absolutely. We were delayed a day, right, for whale watching, just because of the weather, so, I mean, it was cold, but we were all bundled up, and I don't think there was one person there who wasn't just totally in awe, but yes, highlight of the trip.
So the video is us, we saw a humpback whale, which, I mean, bucket list for
More than
anybody.
once.
More than once. Same whale that had been there for a couple months in this fjord. We got a bit of its tail, evidently earlier in the morning it had breached, entirely. The guide said they don't know why they breach entirely, and they can't time it, right? So it's just all, they know where they are, all the boats communicate with each other, and we crossed our fingers and toes and everything else, and it worked. Thingvellir National Park. I would say as a geology teacher, this is my favorite. I literally wept. And the bottom right-hand picture is me standing between the North American plate and the Eurasian plate, where new Earth is formed, divergent plate boundary. Just the coolest experience. I'm not quite sure if the rest of them really realized what was happening or where they were. Had I had the opportunity to catch up to them, I would have, but I was too busy being in awe. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's called, Thingvellir means parliamentary fields, because this is where the very first parliament of Iceland occurred. And I'm going to venture a guess that it was in the 1400s or earlier. So quite a long time that the parliament has been there. 930 AD is when that happened. This is Gullfoss Waterfall, our windiest day.
It was sunny, and then I looked at the back of Maliner's coat and I said, oh my gosh, it's hailing. And then it was raining, and then it was snowing, and then it was sunny again.
And then it was horizontally raining.
Yes.
But I don't know about you two,
Worth it.
it's
Yeah.
possibly one of the most amazing places I've ever seen in my life. It's, this Gullfoss is, I don't even have the.
Golden waterfall.
Waterfall, yeah.
It's huge. It's absolutely huge.
Then we were in an area that's a geothermal park, that is open to the public and free. It is like being next to the earth breathing. This geyser is how geysers are named. This is the original geyser. And so you can walk all these paths with these just tiny little ponds that are bubbling, these mud pots. It's just, and I don't know how else to explain it, other than the earth breathing. It was just extraordinary. And our last day, we went to a geothermal power plant. Where Iceland is I think it's 100% powered by renewable energy. They do of course use fossil fuels in their vehicles, etc. But they have all this geothermal power. They have multiple power plants. The upper right-hand corner is of Blue Lagoon. That is the chaperones enjoying about a couple hours in the Blue Lagoon, I would say. Not the same geothermal power plant that we visited, but the Blue Lagoon is the wastewater of a geothermal power plant that they thought was going to be absorbed back into the rocks, but instead it pooled and they can make money off of it. So, but the geothermal power plant was a very interesting tour.
Can we go back a slide too? I want to touch the picture in the top in the middle where you can see the darker rock and then the green rock. That black rock is new lava from, when was that? Last summer?
So if you recall that there's an Icelandic town that was covered in the slow-moving lava flows right near the Blue Lagoon, that is new lava from just that eruption.
And you could see it, and it was smoking, and our bus driver, who we all loved, stopped and pointed this out. And then the pictures on the bottom are a couple of my pictures. We had lots of evenings just in Reykjavik in the city, and walking through, this was my first international experience, and walking through a European city is something that you can't even explain until you're there. Just seeing the shops and the people and the restaurants, it was like nothing I could imagine before I left, and doing it with this group of people was really special.
She didn't want to leave the airport.
I did not want to.
Her mom wouldn't have forgiven me.
We got on the bus and the liner said, are Camden and Elizabeth here? They didn't want to go to the airport.
And just one last, because we spent a couple days in the north where there was extreme snow and we had the day that we had to cancel our whale watching trip, we just had to go back to this hotel. And this town really didn't have a lot going on for teenagers. So they built a ginormous snowman or two and had a little war with some local kids. Snowball fights and all of that, so I liked that. And then our next trip is next school year. Central and Eastern Europe, the main cities of Berlin, Prague, Krakow, Budapest, 10 days with currently 36 students, hopefully 37.
After we go to Germany this summer.
Are there any questions for any of us?
Looks like a great time.
Yeah.
Thank you all for your continued support of the travel club. I feel like it's doing some good.
Yeah. Can I say one quick thing?
Yes.
So it's my first travel club experience, and there's a lot of work that Marcia has to do, but as chaperones, we all organize fundraisers and do things like that. And there were times where I was like, oh my goodness, this is insane. Organizing a spice order with hundreds of spices in my classroom, it's crazy. Like, there's just a lot of behind the scenes work. And going into Iceland, I was like, okay, here we go. I'm not gonna lie when I say it was one of the most life-changing experiences that I've had personally, because getting to experience a whole new country, I'd been there on a layover, I think, when I was going to Spain in high school. But I got to experience that country and that culture and all the nerdy science stuff behind it. And I got to do it with a dear friend, but also alongside these kids. And yes, you should be jealous, because it was amazing, but seeing it with kids was by far the most rewarding part. So yes, thank you for your support, it's another great opportunity that isn't traditional here, and it's open to any student. There are many fundraising opportunities, so it's just something really cool in our tiny town that we hopefully can always continue.
I would like to add one thing too, as a student perspective. Like I said, my first international experience, and I left with kind of a group of friends, but not really people I knew. I came home with what I now consider some of my best friends. I met Camden in the parking lot before this. She's taking her cap and gown pictures, and it was a friendship that you don't make at home. It was, okay, we're stuck together, let's figure this out. And it was amazing. And being with the chaperones, who were all very guiding and very helpful, and it was an experience that I have a hard time describing. Come home and your parents say, well, how was Iceland? And it's hard to put it into words, but it was something that I will absolutely never forget.
I did not pay her to say that. Oh, Mara did it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now on riveting change of events here, we'll go to the fiscal year 26 revised
I
budget.
was like, whoever stacked that agenda,
Right.
like, how do you put me behind that? Okay. I've been to Iceland, it's great. There, okay, that was my segue into this, alright. Good evening, Eric Bartusz here, business manager for the district. Here to go through our final revised budget here for 25-26. Tonight's presentation is actually gonna be pretty short and sweet, just because in 1 month's time, we're gonna get into the adopted budget for 26-27. We'll probably have quite a bit more to discuss when we get into that budget. Next slide. Alright, so short agenda here, just looking at that budget cycle. We'll look at some of our updated enrollment figures, which did improve since the last time we looked at a revised budget. And then we'll go through the district financial summary just to kind of show where the final revised budget fell. So our budget cycle, same 4 blocks that we've looked at. You know, we start with the prelim budget, you know, well in advance. We adopt the budget June, revised budget, you know, usually that February or March timeframe. And then the final revised budget, which is where we're at here today, happens in May. That's where we're really looking at where are we really gonna land for our revenue. It's a lot more of like a post-mortem than it is like a prediction at that point, because, you know, 11 of the 12 months have gone by. We've gone through our staffing, we've gone through our spending, all of the things that you don't know that they're gonna happen, so then you kinda hit that final, you know, that final revision to say, okay, now that we know what we know, you know, there are still some unknowns as we hit the end of the year, but nonetheless, we have a pretty good indicator of where we're headed. Next slide. Alright, so I know the last board meeting, we went over average daily membership. We talked about a pretty sharp decline in enrollment. Obviously, that's still represented here, that hasn't changed. What has changed though is that we were below 1,600 students when we previously presented. We've now just barely crossed over that 1,600 threshold, so again, modest improvement is still improvement. So you'll see some of that reflected as we hit our actual budget numbers. So some of that declining enrollment is due to a couple of different factors. Main one really just being the fact that we're graduating larger classes than we're bringing in new kindergartners. That's probably your most basic answer. You know, yeah, you could get into things like private school options, online school options, homeschool options. You can get into some of that because there is some enrollment loss that happens in those areas. But a lot of what it is more around like birth rates. You know, people just aren't having as big of families anymore. We just aren't as enrolling as many kids. So when we graduate a class of 140 and then we have 110 come in, obviously there's some natural decline in enrollment that follows. Next slide, please. Alright. So the budget summary, it's a little bit small for those in the audience here, but really what the blocks on the right-hand side show is that for the most part, if you recall back in February, we were showing a pretty large deficit in the red number. That number, I guess, bad news, good news. Bad news is that it's still a negative number. Not gonna try to sidestep that. We're slightly spent beyond what our expected revenues is going to be. The good news though is that number has shrunk down considerably since February. A lot of that has to do with anticipated staffing costs, benefit costs, things like that. You know, obviously you have to project for what you think might happen, and then when some of those finals come in, you know, you're able to revise some of that down a little bit to you know, where it actually landed. So there was some of that, and then the aforementioned, gain in students, always helps on the revenue side of things as well. Just in some of these points here, on the left-hand side about salaries, benefits, contracts and services, all the inflationary factors, that's still very real, and that's still something that we're looking at as we get into next school year, so that doesn't necessarily, it's not as impactful to the revised budget because it's already happened, but it is still something that, you know, as you're looking through, you know, things like fuel costs, have obviously sharply risen, you know, for reasons beyond our control. You have a lot of your contracted services and like even things like your utility providers, they'll go up, and our choices are either to pay the electric bill or not have electricity, so, you know, obviously we're gonna pay the electric bill. There's things like that that are outside of our control that we have to account for within the budget. So obviously we do face some of those inflationary pressures, no matter how we slice it. We do have some authorized, budget reductions, which we'll get into when we start talking about next, school year's budget as well, so, mindful of the fact as we look at revised budget here tonight, obviously we're looking at a deficit number, but, you know, through the administration and through the school board's actions, obviously we're taking steps to ensure that, going forward, we're going to, you know, land in a more, stable, even, you know, that kind of a footprint. We don't want that number to be red year over year, or we're gonna have problems. One other thing I'll mention about the deficit spend number, you know, we get into the board policy, which is 15% unassigned unrestricted fund balance. So naturally you'd think, oh, okay, well, if you lose $60,000 in a year, then your 15% becomes 14.9 or something like that. It's not necessarily how that number works. Within school finance, there's 2,700 lines of budget data, and a lot of those roll up into different types of funds. Some of those restricted funds is where some of this deficit draws itself from. The most blatant example, I would say, is our LTFM, long-term facilities maintenance, is overspent this year, based off of revenue and expenditures, and that's because we had a pretty big HVAC project, if you recall, over at the elementary school to replace some air conditioning units. So, you know, when you spend $130,000 on one line to replace these air conditioning units, and that, you know, surpasses how much money you're actually pulling in, obviously that particular restricted fund is going to drop a little bit because you made that investment. That's gonna show up as part of that red number, but that's not necessarily hitting your fund balance policy. Basically what I'm saying is that there are levers we can pull within those restricted fund balances to ensure that, with this budget, we'll still meet the 15% fund balance policy set forth by the board, at least as I project here this evening. So, that's your kind of your good news, bad news, good news, sandwich there. So we do see some red numbers, we do have some, you know, a little bit of a deficit spend here this year, but we also have things in place to make sure that we're A, meeting board policy, and B, sustaining what we have, you know, things like what we just talked about with, you know, CAP and Iceland and all these other things that we're talking about. We're able to sustain these kind of programs and still do so in a way that's fiscally responsible to the district. Next slide. All right, we're already to next steps here. So obviously tonight we're later in the agenda, you'll have the opportunity to obviously consider this budget here for approval. June we'll have the first adopted budget, so that's the really important budget for our staff, because that's the one that for about 11 months out of the year they live by. So we'll have that budget in front of you for next month. And then the other thing I threw on the calendar just for awareness is that the FY26 audit, we just got the schedule back from our auditors, and the first week of October is when we'll expect to get our field work from the auditors. They usually will have their week, about a month and a half later we can expect to start seeing results of the audit. So maybe as early as the November board meeting, possibly the December board meeting, we'll have a presentation on the FY26 audit. Next slide. Any questions? That's all I have here this evening.
No, I don't have anything.
Excellent, thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Alright, we'll move on, move on to the consent agenda, and anybody wanna remove anything from the consent agenda? If not, I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Dak, second by anyone? Second by Ken. I would just like to, make note of, we have 2 retirements, one Dale Strelo and Jeff Peterson, so I'd like to thank them for their years of service at the district, so. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. We'll move on, that passes 6-0, if there's nothing removed. Budget calendar review, Eric just discussed about it, we will, read that on your own. Item 11, consider approval of resolution accepting gifts and donations. We have one donation from the Morrow Booster Club, $10,000 for the weight room upgrades. Town and Country for the school snack donation. Town and Country for $50 for prom. Mary Moline, $100 for the Spanish Club. We have Bruce Miller Fine Art, $200 for robotics. Embroidery Oil, $100 for prom. So we'll look for a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Scott?
Second.
Ken, second by Ken. This is a resolution, so we'll have to do roll call vote. Scott? Aye. Dakota?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Matt is aye. Jill?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
Alright, that passes 6-0. Go on to item D, consider approval of the fiscal year 26 revised budget. Look for a motion on that.
So moved.
Motion by Ken, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Dakota. All those in favor signify by saying, or is there any discussion first? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. That passes 6-0. We will go to C, consider approval of the 2025-2027 community education paraprofessional pay schedule.
Can you talk about
Yeah,
that?
why don't you roll?
Sure. So, community ed is, the paraprofessionals, there's 4 of them. I believe they are not part of the ESP bargaining unit. So we've always tried to keep the pay equal so that who's ever doing preschool, paraprofessionals get a similar rate so that we can recruit some people there as well. So that's the community ed board, approved, adjusting those rates, and it's a fee-based program, so it pays for itself.
Perfect. So look for a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Motion by-
Second.
Second by Jill. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Approved 6-0. We'll go to item D, consider approval to allocate $1,000 to support CAP programming for students at Morris School. Look for a motion for that. Motion by Scott, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Dakota. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Passes 6-0. We'll go to E, consider approval for MOU for Newhouse Structured Literacy.
Yeah, I just briefly say that's part of the READ Act. This is the high school, language arts teachers that are required to do training, so, yeah, it's a requirement, to do training on their own time, so there's a small stipend, for, I think, up to 18 hours, I believe, yeah.
Okay, so look for a motion.
So moved.
So motion by Amy, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Scott. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Alright, we'll go to consider approval of Moore Elementary School job share agreement for the 2026-27 school year. We had that this year too, didn't we?
Yeah, this year Debbie Anderson and Kaylee Ron Portal, Debbie does 3 days a week and Kaylee does 2 days a week, and so it's a full-time position as a reading interventionist at the elementary school for 5th grade. Debbie retired for a brief time and then came back and is teaching in her position, and she didn't want to do full-time, so it works really well. And so, yeah, I think it's a win-win for the district and the students and the teachers.
Sounds good. So I'll look for a motion to approve that, that job share. Motion by Ken, do I have a
Second.
second by Jill. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Alright, that passes 6-0. Look for consider approval of the 2025-2027 Associated of Minnesota Administrators Agreement. So, yep, motion by Scott, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Dakota. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. 6-0. We'll go to next one, consider approval of probationary staff non-renewal resolution for 2026-2027. Look for a motion on that.
So moved.
Motion by Dakota, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ken. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same oh, it's a resolution, sorry. I'll have to go by roll call vote. Thank you, Dan. Okay. We'll go same order. Scott.
Aye.
Dakota.
Aye.
Amy. That is aye. Jill.
Aye.
Ken.
Aye.
That passes 6-0. So then we'll go to I, consider approval for the following single read policies that receive legislative updates. This was number 806, crisis management. Any
So that we wrote a grant and received a $2,000 grant from the state to install a lockbox. We have one at the high school. We wanna have another one at the back entrance, towards the shop area, and then one at the elementary, and what that does is prevents like any law enforcement or fire or anyone like that, they have access to the keys, so they don't have to crack the windows and break things open and stuff like that, so part of the grant, we had to put in by statute that small little saying that said, you know, we would work with local law enforcement and emergency personnel to do some training and location and stuff like that, so that's the reason for the short little update.
Perfect. So we'll look for a motion for the approval.
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Scott, second by Jill. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. That passes 6-0. We'll go to 12, board reports and administrative update. Go school board. Not school board, student council, sorry.
Same thing. Okay, so one of the first things I can talk about is prom. Prom was really fun. I think everybody had a really good time. It was fun to have it the weekend that it was because I think the seniors felt like it was kind of a kickoff to the last week of school. So that was really good. At our last meeting, Mr. Larson came to talk about the prevalence of racism, and he helped us understand it a little bit more. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding within it, especially in our community. We don't have a lot of suppressed groups, but they do exist, and that's very important. But we don't get to see the culture of that a lot. So he talked about some references that could be made that you might not know are racist but are, and things like that. And then he explained how to shut them down. So the first thing is to call them out. So he just explained, if you're in front of your friends or your peers, just say, hey, that's not something that we say. 2, report it to one of your teacher or a student council member or administration if you feel comfortable. But I think that this really helped our student council members know a little bit of a plan of action, because sometimes you just freeze. Sometimes when those things happen, you think maybe it's normal to say that, maybe that's okay to say, but I think knowing the history behind the comments that are being made and what it can do to someone was really good to know, and for all of our student council members to enact. And actually, I graduated, like, my last day of school was Friday, but in the 2 weeks that after we talked about it, I had noticed, I had heard 2 people kind of doing that, where they would just say, like, that's not, I think someone said, like, I don't really want to talk like that. And I think that was really good to hear, because a lot of it has to do with the students and not as much with administration. So we had a spring dance as well, which was, it's usually more junior high kids that come, it's kind of like their prom, but a lot of them danced, and they all we have open gym now too, and they really like the open gym. I think it's just a way to get out of the house. I don't know if you guys have heard of like third spaces, where there used to be a lot of third spaces where you were outside of your home or school or your home or work. It's like being somewhere else with your friends and your community. I think there's not as many third spaces anymore, but this was kind of a third space for people to enjoy time with each other. So that was nice. People come to a lot of school dances, which is good. At the time I made this, we were doing elections for next year's student council. Our presidents next year are Kendall and Emma. I think they're gonna do really well. I'm excited for them to do some board reports for you. And then we have, I think a lot of people returning, which is good. I think we have a couple new faces too. Yeah, so that'll be exciting. It's always fun to have new perspectives on our student council. Student experiences, we are almost done with school. I'm done with school, so that feels really good, but we're almost done with school. And that comes with a lot of burnout for a lot of students. I know that I felt that the past couple weeks. The end of the school year can be really tricky, and I've noticed like a lot of students feeling just tired and worn down. Luckily, it's been really nice the past couple weeks, so people have been able to go outside. But towards the end of the school year, it's really good when we can get something different in our days. So when there's a pep fest or when there's something exciting to look forward to, and so implementing that is really good, and like having the support from administration to be able to do stuff in our gym, I think it brings people's spirits up a lot. In the summer, I think a lot of kids struggle just being isolated and things, so I really urge you, like any programs that are in the summer that are school funded, just continue to say yes. You guys, I know, are very positive about summer programming and things like that, and it is so important. I know some people who, if without that programming, they would just be at home all day, and so I really love our school board because you are so for the activities and for the kids, so just continue it with that. And I think that I hope parents encourage their kids to get out, to go play outside. You learn so much from being outside of your house, whether you're going to the store or you're going on a walk. So I really hope that kids can continue to learn outside of the building in the summer. And I think that's all I have. So Senior Sunset happened, and we had the Senior Recognition Night, which was really fun. And then June 2nd is Move Up Day, which is fun because a bunch of little upcoming 7th graders get to come and get a tour of our building, and they always think it's so cool, and it is, like you get to sit outside of your classroom. I just wanted to, this is my last school board meeting. I think next time it'll be Emma or Kendall. So I just wanted to thank you guys for the opportunity to speak in front of you, and I am really grateful that our school board gives students a time to speak. I think it's really important.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you
I'd
so
just
much.
like to thank you for bringing up that student experience that you shared a couple months ago.
Yeah.
I think that was really important for us to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it just helped us direct administration.
For sure, from a
So,
student perspective.
Yeah, from a student's perspective, that's really important to hear, so
Mhm.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Yeah,
Thank
great
you.
job,
Thank you
Ryan.
for all you, good luck.
Yeah.
Don't forget, you have graduation on Sunday.
I know, yeah.
Right.
Gotta be in the school.
So you're not done
Yeah,
yet.
you're not rid of us yet. Dan, any other, thing from yours or anybody
Yeah.
else's that you would like to highlight?
Yeah, for sure. We had our staff appreciation lunch on, I wanna say the week of May 5th. So, Heather Stutz, the Director of Nutrition, made an amazing meal. It was, pulled chicken, pulled pork, coleslaw, chips, fruit. Yeah, and, with all the fixings like, barbecue sauce and stuff like that. So the high school did one for all staff. The elementary did one for all staff, and then Chip and I went to transportation and did that. And the feedback was amazing on the pulled pork and pulled chicken, cause it wasn't like brats and hot dogs and stuff like that, so. Everyone wanted to thank the school board for supporting that, so that's one of your recognition, things that you vote on every year to do that. And then we have our, school staff, end of the year, breakfast, and we give out our service awards for people that have served the district for, I think it's 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. I think this year we have a 35-year, I think Sarah Berry, I think is 35
Yeah.
years. And we don't have a 40 this year, but we're hoping to, eventually. Let's see, and then we'll honor all the people that are retiring. I think we have 6 staff members or so that have retired in the past, whether that be the fall or things like that. So all the school board members are invited. Amy reached out to me and said she is going to speak, but if there's anyone else that wants to speak, you're more than welcome, or you just wanna come for breakfast, you're welcome to do that at 7:30 on Wednesday, June 3rd. Yes, yes, okay, I'm done.
I have
Perfect.
something.
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead, Amy.
Okay, so for our board report, I attended the staff meeting, virtually, cause I had a doctor appointment I had to attend to, but, for a child. But I wanted to let you know that they had a slide and they were talking about something that went through the House and through the Senate, a bill that went through, and I don't know if you've heard about it, but it is going to come up for vote, in November. It would be an amendment change to the Constitution. Have you guys heard about this? Or no? You have? Okay, have.
Little bit,
I just wanna make sure that you, if you haven't heard about it, that you look into it, and familiarize yourself on it. What it does is it doesn't raise people's tax dollars, and it is supposed to, increase the amount of funds that schools will get, because back when they started our country, they put aside some, they put all the lands and stuff that they, and the income that they make off of mining and like forestry on state lands, into a fund, and I believe it's invested. And then, the interest and the dividends in the past, schools have been funded off of it, and it's about 2.5%, of, it comes to be about 2.5% of the value. And this amendment would change it to be 4.5%. The amount in that fund is rather large compared to what it used to be. It's like $2.5 billion. So it would be, we would get like, instead of per pupil from that fund, we would get like 65 or 58, depends on what source you're looking at, up to $95 per pupil. That's a big difference. It's like, 50% increase. So, it really, you should familiarize yourself with it if you don't know.
and MSBA will come out with some more information for school boards, and I'll keep you informed, and yeah, it is gonna be a positive thing for schools when the legislature didn't have any money to give to schools, so that was certainly a thing, but it'll have to pass throughout the state, a simple majority, so.
And voting no, or not voting at all on it, skipping the question, is exactly the same as voting no for this particular amendment, because it's a constitutional amendment. So people have to, if they're going to vote, either vote yes for it to pass, or if they don't want it to pass, vote no. But if you just don't know that not voting means no, it's very important to make sure people know that.
perfect. Thank you. We have upcoming dates to remember. Most importantly, we have graduation this Sunday at 1 at the high school gym.
Meet in my office at 12:30-ish.
Perfect. So, we all, board correspondence is passed around, we all got to look at that. Any other board business? Anybody for open forum too? Alright, if nothing else, we'll look for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Ken, second by Jill, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All same sides. We are closed at 7:36. And I give you 4 minutes to get across the road.
Can't run that fast.